fold of liberty. Hip Hobart, my Hip Hobart, ever shall thy champions prove, filled with brave, unchanging love, lifting souls to heights above. Hip Hobart, my Hip Hobart. Raise the orange and purple high, let us shamed and never shout the triumph to the sky. Hip Hobart forever, William Smith, to thee we sing in heartfelt loyalty. For all the days that we shall live, we pledge our love forever.
Hello and welcome to our Fall 2025 Convocation ceremony. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon for this important kickoff of our academic year. My name is Kelly Payne. I'm the Senior Associate Dean in the Office of the Hobart and William Smith Deans, and I'm joined here today by my Dean's Office colleagues, David Mapstone, Amy Green, and Dean Kelvin Clark. We're also joined by our new assistant to the deans, who's over by the banner table, Julia Seleni, and all of my esteemed colleagues here on the podium who will be joining us as speakers. They are all listed in your programs to follow along. All of us here today speaking with you and celebrating you, our faculty who process with us, we came for one reason, you, to celebrate our new first years and our new transfer students as you launch into academic life with the start of classes tomorrow. I also want to point out that we're joined by some of our esteemed Honor Society students. The students wearing the purple and green blazers are our Druid and High Temiai Senior Honor Society students. If we can give a wave or applause for them. They are vivid examples of what it means to embody the scholar mindset, put it into action, and be leaders on campus. As we settle into today's event, I invite you to think back to what I refer to as our Festival of Handshakes. The Wednesday HWS welcome, where you met us on the quad and you had your first interactions with us in the dean's office as you prepared to pick up your room key. Even more important to settling into your residence halls, from our perspective as academics, is signing in as a student scholar. We may have prodded you to get a picture of the moment that you signed the Hobart and William Smith matriculation book for your entering cohort. That's the moment that connects you with the academic community of Hobart and William Smith, past and present. Matriculation books date back to at least the 14th century in Europe. By asking you to sign that book, making it a solemn occasion, we deans were hoping to awaken in you a sense of curiosity about what might be possible for you over the next 4 years and the 40 years after that. You may not have felt transformed in that moment, but by becoming a student at Hobart and William Smith, you've given yourself an opportunity to author your path forward, to flourish, to learn and live an intentional, ethical, intellectually grounded life, and one connected to this place and its history. The scholar Bell Hooks wrote a lot about learning, emotion, and social change and how they're interconnected. In her book, Teaching Community, A Pedagogy of Hope, she explains that we need hope, radical hope, to illuminate the space of the possible, where we can work to sustain our curiosity, our creativity, and our communities. At HWS, radical hope is nurtured in your classrooms with our amazing faculty, in our offices and those of us staff who work to support you, and in the beautiful open spaces of our campus where you are in relationship with us, with your faculty, with this whole place. Here at HWS, the classroom is a place that is life-sustaining and mind-expanding, a place of liberating mutuality where student and teacher work together and learn together in partnership, the very embodiment of learning defined by radical hope. And we need connections defined by hope these days. So I'll wrap up by sharing a few things, 3 things that we deans hope you will remember in these early days of the 25-26 academic year. The first thing is the most important. You belong here. Each one of you has an academic place here as much as everyone else does. There's nothing you need to prove or justify about being here. You have earned being here and can build an academic home for yourself here. Whether you have come from across the country, across an ocean, or from down the road, whether you have relatives who went to college here, or like me, you might be the first in your family to go to college, each one of you has earned the opportunity to be here, and each of you can develop intellectual and social belonging on campus to make this place uniquely yours. And HWS is so fortunate to have you join our academic community. The second thing, also significant, you will be very busy here. True learning that leads to intellectual growth happens by facing challenges and even some struggle, inside and outside the classroom. There's nothing wrong if you find yourself having to work harder in our classes or with assignments than you ever have before. Actually, it probably means there's something very right. Working hard and learning to enjoy the hard work means you are taking advantage of the opportunities the college is offering you. You should expect to read more, to write more, and to learn how to read and engage with text differently and more actively than you have in the past. The third thing, you can rise to the intellectual challenges. You can do this level of work. I know this because you have made it here. Your prior learning experiences, your resiliency, perseverance, and courage, all of these things have come to this moment to get you to our campus. So here's the deal. When you want more from your opportunities here, you agree to tell us. Your deans and your faculty advisors, we want to know what you envision for yourself in your academic life here. Now is the time to be curious, to be interested, to discover life in all its forms and the mind and the many ways it relates to life. Now is the time to explore and think, to talk and write, and to do so expansively and deeply and critically. You, new students, first years, and transfers are off to an adventure here. We all hope that you will embrace and enjoy it. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I am Nita Bird, the Dean of Spiritual Engagement and Chaplain here, and I have a few things I'd like to share with you about this convocation, because we come to begin this convocation in a pathway that was actually forged by those who laid the foundations of this institution, Hobart and William Smith. So as I was reading about some of these early leaders of Hobart and William Smith, I was particularly interested in a 19th century Hobart president, Benjamin Hale. Benjamin Hale had a vision where a multiplicity of people could come together on this campus. During this time of the 19th century, when Hobart was all male, President Hale stated that nowhere do rich and poor meet together on terms so perfectly equal as in colleges. Now, Hale mentioned the categories that were typically separated in the 19th century, such as rich and poor, and said that they can both have a sense of belonging on this campus. A vision furthered by William Smith with the founding of a women's college. Hobart and William Smith continues that legacy today as a place where people of multiple identities find a place of belonging right here on this campus where you sit today. So, in 2025, our convocation holds an evolved meaning, an ingathering of many folk who possess varied and distinct backgrounds and understandings, a place where folk meet for the pursuit of knowledge and wisdom. See, colleges help us to understand what it means to be truly human. We do not exist for ourselves, but we are here to be with one another and for one another. We do not aspire to attain knowledge only for ourselves. As I continue to learn with all of you as students every day, I must understand that my learning is much richer and deeper because I am in relationship with each and every one of you as I grow and learn. This type of learning occurs in our classrooms, our residence halls, and meal times on the athletic fields, and social clubs and gatherings, and in so many other places here at Hobart and William Smith. As we truly treasure the multiplicity of our gifts, may we also come to realize the interdependence of our lives, the interdependence that weaves a web of learning which is so precious in this place. Each and every one of you constitutes an important piece, an important and necessary strand in what I call the web of learning. So never forget that. Always know that you're an important strand in that web, and if you're removed, the web will never be the same. So your being here helps the entire community learn in a unique and valuable way. So always remember that you are the strand in the web that belongs here and must be here. Thank you.
Good afternoon. It's hard to believe that it was Wednesday when we were last sitting in these chairs. A lot's happened since then. It's now my pleasure and my great honor to introduce your faculty speaker today. As Provost and Dean of Faculty, I'm delighted to have faculty before you to share in this experience with you. Professor Young Tao Harry Gu graduated from Hobart and William Smith in 2013 with a degree in History and Media and Society. He earned a PhD in Visual and Cultural Studies from the University of Rochester in 2020. That same year, Professor Gu returned to HWS, where he is now Assistant Professor of Media and Society. Professor Gu is also affiliated with the Asian Studies and Gender, Sexuality, and Intersectional Justice programs. He has won prestigious awards and fellowships from the Andrew W. Mellon Foundation, the Social Science Research Council, the Association for Asian Studies, and the East-West Center, among others. His teaching and research examine questions of identity and coloniality in modern and contemporary Asian and Asian diasporic visual cultures. Please join me in welcoming Harry.
Thank you, Provost Kirk. Good afternoon. What an honor to welcome you to HWS, class of 2029. We have been waiting for you all summer. So before we get into anything serious, let me ask you this. By a show of hands, has anyone already read a syllabus? Anyone? That's good. Yeah. So don't worry if you haven't. The syllabus for the next 10 minutes is simple. I will offer you one piece of advice I will put my professor's hat on and teach you something, and then I will end with one invitation and one challenge. So I graduated from HWS in 2013, but I still remember my first day on campus. It can be summarized by one word: excited. I was excited to meet all the new people. I was excited to try so many new things. I was even excited to buy all the books. I was so excited that I read every single syllabus before class even started. And that's my one piece of advice for you: read the syllabus. If you are worried about ruining the surprise, don't, because they're not spoilers. But to be honest, I was also terrified. I asked myself, what if I don't fit in? What if I can't make friends? Show of hands if you're also a bit terrified. Nervous? Yeah, a couple of you. So whether you're excited or nervous or both, it is okay. We, like most animals, are often anxious in a new environment because we have evolved to rely on social relations for survival. Naturally, when arriving at a new environment, we become extra observant about those around us. If you were a fruit fly and we put you in a new vial of food, you would very quickly explore your new environment, search and taste all the foods available. If you were with other flies, you would be checking their vibes, figuring out who might be a threat and who might be a mate. If you detected alcohol in the environment, you would probably turn your head and consume a fair amount. But let me remind you, you're not flies. You're serious people about to begin your academic career. Now, as you are in this new environment, checking out the food, the mates, and all that other stuff, you're socializing with each other in a way that will form a public. And as a public, there will be opinions and disagreements. So as media scholars, I teach in media and society, we happen to study individuals' relation to public opinion. And so here is the teaching part. And I prepared my professor's hat. I'm going to put it on and teach you something today. So let me begin with a story. This needs to be fixed a little better. So in 1965, Western German Federation election, the race was extremely close and deadlocked, in fact. For months, polls have shown two leading parties in a near tie. And then something happened. In the final days, a small but decisive group of 3 to 4 point voters shifted their side, just enough to tip the balance. A German researcher, Elisabeth Noel Neumann, wanted to find out why. What she discovered had nothing to do with campaign platforms or the candidates. It was something far more insidious. The voters changed their opinion simply because of their perception, their sense of which side was becoming more popular and which side seemed to be losing ground. So when people sense what their view is in the minority, they feel the social pressure to stay quiet, to withdraw dissent, to fold their hands instead of raising them. She called it the spiral of silence. And so here's the idea. All of us, whether we admit it or not, are constantly scanning the room. We listen, we watch, we speculate. What do others want to hear? Will I get funny looks? Am I going to be part of the group, or am I going to be excluded? And if we suspect our opinion isn't the popular one, we stay quiet to avoid social isolation, to protect ourselves. She calls it a spiral because silence adds up. The fewer people who speak, the more it looks like there's only one view in the room. And that is enough for the minorities to shift to the majority's side. This seems straightforward, right? If you've ever sat in a classroom where no one wanted to talk, then you know what I'm talking about. When we're afraid of being isolated, we keep our mouths shut. That part checks out. But here's where things get more interesting, and where recent research about political polarization added layers to the idea that Elisabeth Noel Neumann laid out. So let me draw your attention to a few points. First, an opinion doesn't have to be the actual majority to silence its opponents. The spiral works as long as it appears to be the majority. So you could be the majority, but you don't know. Now, the second point is the spiral of silence has nothing to do whether an opinion is right. A viewpoint can be inaccurate, even flat out false, and still dominate the public space simply because no one wanted to challenge it. Third, in a polarized context, your silence does very little to resolve the conflict. Research shows that even when people retreat from a conversation, they in fact leave the field wide open to the most extreme ideas. That is to say, silence does nothing to resolve conflict. It deepens them. Despite the threat of social isolation, this is the fourth point, in fact, many people are capable of speaking up, even when they think their opinions may not be popular, because they understand this. Yes, speaking up comes with social costs, but silence can be costly too. As a queer person, I learned at a very early age that being silent means allowing others to make assumptions about you. When your friends, the friends that you have, are based on silence, every nod, every laugh, every me too feels off key. Because you're pretending to be someone else to feel safe instead of belonging to a place where you are safe. Silence is costly to democracy too. When you step back from difficult conversations, the air doesn't just stay empty. It gets filled by the voices of those who are the loudest, but not always the kindest and the smartest. And when that happens, we risk building a society based on our worst fears, not our best ideas. So what does this all mean for you? Class of 2029, how will you use your voice? Tomorrow is your first day in college. You're at a place where your voice matters. You will become part of a tradition where learning fosters the self-awareness and courage needed to live a liberated life, a life of purpose and depth. As you step into the new semester, you'll find yourself in challenging conversations every day, and you will learn to love it. You will see what I mean when you step into your first year seminar classes. You will learn the difference between information and misinformation and the challenges of science in the digital age. You will debate the ethics of medicine and religion, abortion, euthanasia, organ transplant, plastic surgery, so on. You will learn how modern Japan has packaged its supernatural stories for global consumption. You will explore the past and present of Mars and speculate the future of our planetary system. On behalf of my colleagues who are seated here, I invite you to come to our office hours. We're eager to meet you. This is my invitation. And my challenge for you is this. Try to speak up at least once in class this week, okay? Whether it is to ask a question or to state a disagreement, this is what we do as professors. We ask questions, we challenge assumptions, we invite you to think critically, to disagree, but with reason. And most of all, to speak up, because this is where learning begins. It is also where the journey to true belonging begins. So yes, it is okay to worry about being accepted, but I hope you will come to understand here that belonging is not about blending in. It is about being seen, being heard, and being valued for who you are and what you think. It is about creating a space of belonging for other people. This is what we mean when we say welcome here at HWS. You're not here to fit in. You're here because you stand out. So put yourself out there, make yourself heard. Class of 2029, welcome. I'm so glad you're here.
Welcome, class of 2029. My name is Emily Gorzinski, and I am your student government president. I want to personally congratulate you on all the hard work you have done to get to this moment and for getting through the whirlwind that is orientation. I am not the first and definitely will not be the last to say this, but you are about to embark on an amazing journey on this beautiful campus with amazing friends, many of whom you have not met yet. There are two crucial elements that helped me along my journey at HWS that I would like to share with you: the importance of relationships and excitement about academics. I have a family connection to HWS, perhaps like some of you. My mom, aunt, and uncle all graduated from HWS, and I am so proud of that. But even with all that support, my transition to college was a challenge. If you had asked me 3 years ago if I would be speaking in front of you all, I would have never believed you. I even threatened to Uber home during orientation weekend, leading to a house call by our finest campus safety officers. I decided to stay, and I couldn't be happier that I did. There were a few people that helped me get through those tough times. I had amazing faculty like Professor of Biology Susan Cushman, who supported me through my first semester, both academically and personally. Fun fact, Professor Cushman was in my mom's year, and they studied abroad in Australia together. She's been an important advisor to me. But it was not just the faculty. It was staff such as Hannah Williams in student engagement, the counseling center, and my new friends who led me to find my place at HWS. Somewhere during my first year, I was looking to potentially spend my summer in Geneva, which I recommend everyone try at least once. I was encouraged by my advisor, Professor Aaron Pelkey, to just walk into Professor Justin Miller's office and ask him about his research group. It might sound cliche, but the rest is history. Professor Miller taking a chance on me has been a life-changing opportunity. Throughout my academic career, I have felt nothing but support in all my endeavors. And it is not just him. Every professor I have had a class with or even met just once has had a genuine interest in my goals and dreams. In my sophomore year, I explored across campus, literally and figuratively, where I found the sociology department and my advisor, Professor Jim Sutton. He recommended the bidisciplinary course, The Rights of Reproduction, taught by both Professor Renee Monson and Christy Kenyon. This class allowed me to combine my two passions, meet in the middle of campus, and solidify my future goal of becoming a pharmacist and making a real impact on people who need it most. This is not meant to be a one-off story, giving you the impression that somehow my experience at HWS is unique. If you talk to anyone on campus, they will have comparable stories with similar experiences. Take my roommate and best friend Elle, who went abroad with me this past May. Let's just say, as two STEM majors, we were completely out of our comfort zone as we were on an art history trip in Buenos Aires, Argentina. But our professor, Angelique Sismanik, took us in with open arms and led the trip of a lifetime. You will have your own arc, your own relationships, and your own support from all areas of campus that will make your experience at HWS extraordinary. As your student government president, I personally invite you to come to our weekly meetings on Mondays at 8 p.m. in Bartlett Theater and get involved in your community and find your own path. I cannot wait to see what this next chapter holds for you all. Welcome to the 25-26 academic year.
I have to say I love when the day matches the audience. Spectacular day, spectacular audience. So glad you're all here. Welcome to Hobart and William Smith. As Executive Director of Alumni and Alumni Relations, it is my job to ensure our nearly 25,000 living alumni feel a sense of belonging and connection to their alma mater. In going about this work, I am humbled by the lives of consequence our graduates lead, the meaning they derive from their careers, and the good they do in the world. The Hobart Medal of Excellence is our way of recognizing the most extraordinary among them. First awarded in 1970, the Medal of Excellence is the Alumni Association's highest honor. The Most Reverend Bishop Michael Curry, class of 75, the first black leader of the Episcopal Church, received the Medal of Excellence, as did Dr. Chris Beyer, class of 81, who is one of the world's leading experts on HIV/AIDS and on COVID prevention. Other recipients include the inventor of superglue, the president of the Lincoln Center, a decorated Air Force colonel, and the curator of the American Museum of Natural History, all alumni. These leaders exemplify what this award stands for: graduates who bring honor and distinction to HWS through outstanding accomplishments in business, their professions, or through community service. Distinguished Air Force veteran, architect, and alumnus Toby Pugh, 67, embodies excellence in all three. In between graduating from Hobart College with a BA in psychology and earning a Master of Architecture from the University of New Mexico, Toby Pugh flew more than 100 missions as an electronic warfare officer in the U.S. Air Force. In this role, he was in charge of guiding B-52s to target. The job required highly specialized training, extreme focus, and nerves of steel. Following his service, he poured himself into his graduate studies and channeled his discipline and creativity into architecture. His work got noticed by Walt Disney Imagineering, the creative force behind the Walt Disney Company properties. As an architect with Walt Disney, Toby directed facility standards and specifications and shaped design and storytelling at Disney resorts around the world, including Hong Kong, Shanghai, and Anaheim. Everywhere, he made it his purpose to design rides and attractions that are accessible, ensuring all visitors, have the fullest experience and the deepest sense of belonging. He spent 20 years with Walt Disney Imagineering and went on to found his own firm. As a graduate of HWS, he has remained deeply connected to our community, serving in a number of volunteer roles and supporting the annual fund and the Gearin Center for the Performing Arts. And now for the presentation of the Hobart Medal of Excellence, please join me in welcoming to the podium President Gearin, and from the class of 1967, our recipient, Toby Pugh.
Thank you, Mel. It is my privilege, personal privilege, to present the Hobart Medal of Excellence. Toby Pugh. With imagination, expertise, and humanity, you helped shape the fabric of the Disney experience around the world. As a leader at Walt Disney Imagineering, you brought stories to life through architecture that welcomed everyone, advancing inclusion, accessibility, and a sense of belonging at the heart of Disney's global destinations. From Disney California Adventure to Hong Kong Disneyland, your visionary work helped redefine what immersive, inclusive design can and should be. You have elevated your profession, enriched your communities, and in so doing, brought honor to Hobart and William Smith. And so for all that you have imagined and built, for the life of consequence that you have led and continue to lead, we are honored to present to you Toby Pugh, class of 1967, with the Hobart Medal of Excellence. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Melanie. Thank you so much. Oh, wonderful.
Thank you. I'll bring you to the podium, Sarah. Okay, all right. To offer remarks, please join in welcoming the most recent recipient of the Hobart Medal of Excellence, Mr. Toby Pugh.
Thank you all so very kindly. President Gearin, Melanie Sage, faculty, staff, honored guests, and Medal of Excellence recipients and students. I am filled with gratitude and humility to be receiving this prestigious award. But I especially want to say welcome to the class of 2029 and to all the new students here today. Congratulations, you are here, and this is you are in some ways the most important part of this convocation. So welcome to Hobart and William Smith. And of course, my thanks to my nominator, Dick Anderegg, himself a recipient of this award, and my friend since freshman year, and his wife, Jean. I am delighted to have you here with me, and thank you for your friendship. Dick, by the way, is such a good friend, he was willing to be best man for me twice. Also, my deepest thanks to my wife, Elizabeth Baker, for years and years of support, for her willingness to help me pursue my architectural adventures while fully engaged in her own amazing full-time career as a concert violinist. Long hours were the norm for us, and we often had conflicting schedules. Sometimes we were not only in different time zones, but even in different continents. Thank you for helping us carve out date nights whenever we could. You are my partner in this award. Now, my career in this award is not a function of any one single act, or of any year, or of any particular project. Rather, it's a result of a progression of events, sometimes acting on little more than faith and hope that started right here at Hobart College. What happened here is that I learned how to learn. I learned how to question. I learned how to take apart a problem and look at it objectively in search for solutions. I learned how to form thoughts and to express them with some clarity. It was so much more than memorizing dates and names. Now, my transcript will likely show that this took some time. But by my senior year, my roommate and I had heard that one can learn things better if you are teaching others, or at least dialoguing with others. It forces you to collect and organize your thoughts, and to state them clearly. So at the end of every evening study, or most every evening study, he and I would spend about 15 minutes each teaching the other what we had learned that day. Since we had different majors, this sometimes took a bit of effort, but it worked. Contrary to any of our doubters, we both graduated on time. So if your parents or people in your family had ever asked that dreaded question, "What did you learn in school today?" they may have been onto something. Remember, every day for the rest of your life is a school day. Every day is a school day. Now, shortly after graduation, I volunteered for the Air Force, went through officer training school, was commissioned, became rated as a navigator, and later worked as an electronic countermeasures officer. In the military, I learned that leadership requires clear and concise communication, sometimes based more on responsibilities than on rank. For example, I flew in airplanes with a crew of 6, usually with 3 airplanes in a cell, so that would be 18 people, always communicating with other cells, with tankers, with fighters, radar sites, and of course with our hard-working ground support crew personnel. Yet in many cases, our communication was based more on our crew responsibility than on rank. So when I, as a captain, had the responsibility for aircraft defense, if I told the pilot, who often outranked me, to take a certain action, he or she these days would likely follow those directions. Without realizing it at the time, this team approach helped to set me up for later success working in large architectural teams. Now here's a little story as an example. One night, immediately after a mission that I thought had gone badly because of poor mission planning, I was unexpectedly approached by a 3-star general who asked for a personal debrief. Jack, sorry about that. At the time, this guy had probably been in the Air Force longer than I had even been alive. I was intimidated, to say the least. Nevertheless, we were both able to communicate, to dialogue, speaking and listening with respect and courtesy, based on the assumption that we were each performing our valued parts of a larger team. Frankly, later in my architectural career, this no-notice debrief of a 3-star general made it that much easier to go talk to some fire marshal about the location of an exit sign. After 5 years in the Air Force, I used my GI Bill to study architecture at the University of New Mexico. Now, not that I didn't still have a deep love for the Adirondacks, but at the time UNM was pursuing studies in sustainable design before there really was a word for sustainable design. They called it indigenous design or passive solar design or designing with nature. And so I set out to design passive solar adobe homes in northern New Mexico, or so I thought. My career took a few unplanned detours. Architecture, it turns out, is only partly about setting goals and solving problems and creating imaginative design. Architecture is also a massive problem in communications. I had to be able to speak, to write, to draw, and sometimes model information to people with many different skills and backgrounds. Government officials, project owners, bankers, other design professionals, and ultimately to the hardest working people pouring concrete and swinging hammers all day long. Using the critical thinking skills that I learned here at Hobart and the team skills that I learned in the Air Force, I found myself working on projects quite removed from my original plan. In fact, I did work on residential design, but also on churches, on senior centers, a major hotel in Los Angeles, Intel clean rooms, and eventually worked on a very high-end hotel project in Las Vegas, Nevada, of all places. It turns out that, unbeknownst to me at that hotel, someone had been quietly overseeing my Las Vegas work for Hilton, and that person later ended up as the director of architecture for Walt Disney Imagineering. He contacted me and offered me a job. This is a job that changed my life. Make your plans, some people told me, and then do the next right thing. So for more than 20 years, I was part of teams designing and overseeing construction of Disney theme parks and resorts in the US, in Asia, Hong Kong, and Shanghai mostly, and even a little bit in Tokyo, Europe, and for a few weeks on Disney Cruise Lines. I'm proud to say that a small part of that work, as an architect, I was able to encourage our larger teams to design for accessibility. That is, to design for those who had limited mobility, vision, hearing, and cognitive abilities. Accessible design means that everyone gets a full experience, regardless of abilities. At the most basic level, accessible design means that we provide for diversity, for equity, and for inclusion in the built environment. Closed captioning for shows, transmission for cochlear implants, accessible ride vehicles and facilities are but to name a few. Now here's a small example. One day I happened to be working with another architect laying out the employee areas for a hotel in Hong Kong Disneyland. I noted the narrow corridors and the doorways, and I asked him about accessibility, and he said, "Oh, the current Hong Kong code doesn't require accessibility for employee areas." Well, that was correct. It's also possible and often advisable, you architecture students, to exceed the minimum standards of any building codes. Anyway, what I heard myself saying in response to his comment was, the Walt Disney Company doesn't want to limit its hiring practices based on the designs that you provide. He made the necessary changes, and I had a new insight. Now, partly because of that interaction, I was honored to work with the Hong Kong Institute of Architects, developing accessibility standards to update their codes that I'm pretty sure are still in place today. Our goal at Walt Disney Imagineering was, of course, to make magical experiences, and in so doing, to make every part of our theme parks and resorts as fully accessible to as many people as possible. In Hong Kong, we exceeded to the point that we didn't even put that little blue bob accessibility sign around the park because we made every facility, every restroom, every merchandise shop, and every ride as accessible as possible. Now clearly, Clearly, an attraction such as Tarzan's Treehouse would lose much of its character by putting an elevator to the top. So we created the treehouse, but also had an accessible show at ground level that incorporated many of the storylines and features up above for people who couldn't or wouldn't climb into the tree. It turns out this was also a help for guests who had a fear of heights. So here was a surprise for me. After 10 years after Hong Kong Disneyland opened, I returned to the park with a colleague for several days. Riding the metro trains between the park and our downtown Hong Kong hotel one day, my colleague asked, "Hey, when you lived here, when you were working on the park, how often did you see people with wheelchairs or walkers or with red and white canes on the metro?" I thought for a moment, and I realized that it had been a rarity. And here we were just a few years later, well, half of your lifetime later, I guess, but a few years later, watching people with limited ability moving about the city as a new normal. The larger team at Walt Disney Imagineering, along with like-minded companies like Starbucks and Subway, had managed to have a real positive impact on the larger society in terms of access and inclusion. I am so very grateful for this Medal of Excellence. I accept this honor with profound thanks to my alma mater, to the faculty and students who were here with me, helping me learn how to learn. I have equal gratitude for my military aviators and support personnel with whom I learned to work as a valued member of large teams. And I have a lifetime of thanks to the highly creative and collaborative colleagues at Walt Disney Imagineering who continue making magic around the world. To my fellow students here today, and I say that because I am still a student too, may your life trajectory starting here be filled with the joy of learning, with a willingness to collaborate with others, all while practicing respectful communication and dialogue as valued members of your teams wherever you find yourself. My musician wife taught me the musical term poco a poco, meaning little by little. So I'm wishing that your progressive acts, little by little, will ultimately create pathways to lives of consequence for you and for the world. My deepest thanks again.
Thank you, Toby, for those thoughtful and insightful reflections. I am grateful to distinguished guests that join us here, our graduates, grateful to members of the faculty who are leading important first-year seminars. I thank you all for coming, and I invite you to stand so your students can receive their collective acknowledgement of your presence. Please join us, to your faculty that are here. I'm grateful for the leadership of High Timii and the Druid Society. Thank you so much. I look forward to working with you this year. And this convocation ceremony marks not just the beginning of a new academic year, but the continuation, and I think you've heard this today, of something much deeper. The history that precedes all of us here in this very location for more than 2 centuries. A community of belonging, a place where each of us matters, and we have a shared commitment to our mission statement to lead a life of consequence. Dean Kelly Payne opened up the ceremony with the great words of Bell Hooks, talking about radical hope for the year, a great aspiration. And she said it well, that you belong here. You've earned your place in this academic community, and we can't wait what to see with the guidance of your faculty and coaches and staff and our great graduates, what you go on to do. Our chaplain, Reverend Bird, told us about this great tradition of belonging here at Hobart and William Smith, long before any of us arrived, grounded in a vision from the 19th century, where colleges, even with that definition of belonging, would bring people together across differences. That vision may have been radical then, but it remains vital now. And as Reverend Bird said beautifully, your being here helps the entire community to learn in a unique and invaluable way. And as a graduate of Hobart William Smith, Professor Harry Gu shared about his reflections of his own first day here in Geneva as a first-year student. The nerves and excitement, and then what he was taught, something pretty essential. That silence may be safe, may feel safe, but it comes at a cost. In our classrooms, in our communities, in our conversations, he challenged us to speak up, not just for ourselves, but for one another. Because, as Professor Gu reminded us, belonging is not about blending in, it's about being seen, being heard, and being valued. And Emily Gorzinski, our student government president, shared her journey of her getting her footing here, very candidly and honestly, from moments of doubt to moments of discovery and to important leadership for the entire student body. Emily reminded us the importance of connections and what carries us through, talking about her faculty, her friends, who stood with her in her observation of so many other students and the opportunities that arise here at Hobart and William Smith. And finally, in honoring Mr. Pugh with the Medal of Excellence, I think we all get to see a glimpse, and through his biography that's before you, what a life of consequence can look like. A decorated Air Force veteran, a globally recognized architect, and a fierce advocate for accessibility, Mr. Pugh used his talents not just to build structures, not just to design them, but to literally open doors for others. His career, his work, his commitment is a powerful reminder that our lives, all of our lives, no matter what profession or discipline, gain meaning not just from what we achieve, but from how we include and uplift and imagine a better world. As Mr. Pugh said, every day for the rest of your life can be school day. So in the days ahead, starting tomorrow, may you speak up, reach out, ask questions, build relationships, learn from one another, and little by little, poco a poco, shape a life that is not only successful, but consequential. So we welcome you to Hobart and William Smith. We're glad you're here, and with excitement and with radical hope, we begin this academic year and a chance for all of us to speak up for ourselves and for one another. This will conclude the exercises of Convocation with my thanks and congratulations to Mr. Pugh, with my gratitude to our orientation staff and the leaders who worked very hard since Wednesday to provide, we should give them a shout out here, to provide a great welcome, with my gratitude to my faculty colleagues for taking on the important work of a first-year seminar and for the advising that will come with it, and for the student leadership before us here and with your student trustees who will animate the year ahead. I now get to invite the members of the class of 29 to join us to sign the banners and the programs right over there, to the tables right over there. Good luck tomorrow as we begin the academic year. Welcome.